Happy Thursday, friends. Wow. All right. Happy Thursday, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you are having a great week. Mother's Day is coming up. Anyways, if you are new to this channel, welcome. I have been going live talking about my herpes diagnosis since 2017. So it's something that I have been doing to support the community. Did I have my teeth? Totally do. There we go. Okay. It's something I've been doing live speaking publicly since 2017, just to support the community like us that are living with herpes. We feel ostracized, we feel neglected, we feel abandoned, we feel wounded, we are embarrassed, we are just living in a terrified state. And, when we are diagnosed with herpes, that is what happens. So if you've been on my live before, you know that I get hundreds and hundreds of questions. I do my best to answer them in the order that they come. So please feel free to ask your questions. If I don't get to them, I am getting to them. Make sure you keep them clean because this app does not like it when they're not clean. So let's get going. Some of the questions that I've been receiving recently. Well, let me back up. I was diagnosed with HSV1 in 2003 and HSV2 in 2011. In other words, I've been living with HSV. I've been living with herpes for decades. I've dealt with outbreaks. I've dealt with the embarrassment. I've dealt with dating, disclosing. I'm a mommy. I'm a wife. All sorts of things. You're asking, what is your purpose regarding to what? Being diagnosed with herpes or in general, Kathy? So yeah, please feel free to ask your questions here. And like I said, I just go through them in order and the best that I can go through them. That made no sense. Anyways, all right. So a lot of questions I was getting is, can HSV1 turn into HSV2? And can HSV2 turn into HSV1? And what makes it HSV1 and what makes it HSV2 and all these things. So to back up and give you kind of a full history, about 45 years ago, we didn't know the difference between type 1 and type 2. It was just herpes. You had oral herpes or you had genital herpes. You had herpes up here, you had herpes down there. Now that our technology is more improved, we're able to tell the difference between the viral DNA in type 1 and type 2. So with that being said, type 1 is most commonly associated with oral herpes. It's most commonly associated up here. And HSV2 is most commonly associated down there, right? But that doesn't mean that's where it always is, and it can go in either location. So if you have herpes on your mouth, you have oral herpes. If you have herpes down there, you have genital herpes. Then to find out what type you have is going to be important because that's going to be something that you're going to want to potentially discuss with future partners. You would have to go about getting tested for type 1 or type 2. You can do that by getting a blood draw, and the blood draw can tell you, I need a button on this. The blood draw can tell you what type you have. Herpes doesn't live in our blood, but our blood does contain antibodies. Or you can get it swabbed, and by getting it swabbed, you'll be able to tell what type you have, type 1 or type 2. So those are ways to find out. Guys, thank you for the hearts. I love seeing the hearts. I appreciate seeing the hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, feel free to keep asking your questions. I see that people have started asking their questions. And like I said, I've been talking about this since 2017. If you have herpes, you know someone that has herpes, please share this information with them because it will help support them with their diagnosis and dealing with, just living with herpes. So why would someone without herpes want to date someone with herpes? Genuinely want to know. Here's the thing. That's a great question because no one's ever asked me that question. So here's the thing about herpes is most people are not tested for herpes and most people are asymptomatic for herpes. So what does that mean? Most people don't know they have herpes. 90% of the people with genital herpes will never be diagnosed. So they don't even know that they have it. So Also, as we age, so as we're younger, of course, not as many people have it. As we age, more and more people have it just because more and more people are exposed to more and more people. It's a skin-to-skin disease. So the chances of finding somebody without herpes is actually more difficult than finding someone with herpes. So 2 out of 3 people have HSV1 and 1 out of 6 have HSV2. So if you have kissed 3 people, 2 of those 3 people, statistically speaking, have HSV1. If you have been intimate with more than 6 people, technically 1 out of those 6 people has had HSV2. Now, with that also being said, HSV1 can be down there. So you could sleep with 3 people. And technically, if you sleep with 3 people, 2 out of the 3 of those people either have it up here or have it down there. So back to your original question is why would you date someone with herpes? It's very common and most people have it. They just don't know they have it. The way that you would go about ensuring that your partner doesn't have it would be to ask your partner to go get a blood test and have your partner get tested, and you as well. Is it something you want to set out to find? Absolutely not. But my point is it's something that is so common, and it's actually difficult to find somebody without it. So I hope that answers your question, King. And let me know if you have more questions on that, because that was a really good conversational starter. You haven't had a flare-up in a year. Can I still give it to someone else? You have HSV2. Yes, unfortunately, you can still transmit herpes even if you are not having outbreaks. It's called asymptomatic shedding. You are less likely to transmit it because you don't have an active outbreak is clearly the best way, easiest way to transmit herpes, right? It's active viral DNA. But if you're asymptomatic and you're less likely to, but it's still possible because of the asymptomatic shedding. The asymptomatic shedding means that you as the host have no idea when you're contagious. 70% of transmissions occur without an outbreak. All this may be true, but the minute you disclose, the statistics mean nothing. How so, Stephen? So is it meaning like, oh, someone's like, I don't really care that many people have it, or I don't want to deal with it. So rejection, it happens for 3 reasons. Either the person isn't emotionally mature to handle this conversation, meaning that person is like, ew, gross, like I can't even, that type of person. Number 2, the reason why a rejection happens is somebody is just never going to accept it, period, the end. It's just deeply rooted that this person is never going to accept an STD. Cool. Number 3 is the person's not into you. So any one of these 3 are a reason for rejection. And of course, this all hurts. Any type of rejection hurts our ego. Our ego hates it. But with that being said, this is somebody that we wouldn't want to be in a relationship anyways. You're saying, okay, back to King, you're saying, you originally asked me, why would anybody date someone with herpes? And then you say, okay, I hear you, but that sounds like a selling point, like making yourself feel better, genuinely. Maybe, maybe not. I'm just trying to provide the information. But hey, I totally understand. There's guys, I'm totally honest, there's guys I dated, and had they told me they had herpes, I wouldn't have dated them. There's no way. I just wasn't into them enough. Just wasn't into them. But there's people that I've dated, my husband included. Had my husband come to me and told me he had herpes, it wouldn't have mattered, right? I loved him regardless. It was unconditional love. So I would say that if it's this kind of like, I don't really know if I like you. No, there's no way. Why would you add something else to your plate if you're not even that into the person? So I totally hear what you're saying. Like the person that I got herpes from, had I known he had herpes, I wouldn't have dated him. I wasn't into him enough. Right? I would not have dated him. But again, there's other men that I dated. Had they told me they had it, it would have been okay. There's this girl I like a lot, but she has herpes. What do I do? So Kirby, I would definitely educate yourself, and this is what you're doing right here. You're educating yourself, you're learning about it. I would find out what type she has. Does she have type 1 or type 2? Does she have it up here or down there? I would find out how often her outbreaks are and what she is doing to prevent outbreaks. Is she on the antiviral? Is she taking her lysine supplements? Things I would ask her those questions. Number 2 for you, I would do, if you decide to date her, I would do everything you can to boost your immune system. The stronger your immune system, the less likely you are to catch it. So back to my statistics and what I was saying, you are going to run across it at some point in your life. You are going to kiss someone, you're going to share a beer with someone, you're going to be intimate potentially with somebody that has it, maybe unknowingly. So in a way, it is better to know rather than unknowingly, because like I was saying earlier, a lot of people don't know they have it. And I would just ask you, is she worth it? Again, there's some people that you're like, absolutely, this person's worth it. And then there's sometimes where you're like, I don't know. There's no reason, there's no problem with taking it slow. There's no problem with asking questions. Find out where she has it. So the condom's only going to protect where it's like if it's located in the area that the condom covers. So what I mean by that is if she has it any other location than her vaginal opening, then the condom's not going to protect you. So those are just some questions to ask. You lost your virginity at 20 and the guy I lost my virginity to gave me herpes. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sasha. Absolutely, that's completely frustrating. I mean, I don't know. We don't know if he knew or didn't know, but I'm very sorry that happened to you. And it just goes to show how people either don't disclose because they're terrified of it or just don't know they have it. Can it be passed to my baby when pregnant? No, it does not pass through the umbilical cord. It is skin to skin. It's not a blood disease. It's not in our bodily fluids. The virus is skin to skin transmission, so it will not be transmitted to your child when pregnant. Now, delivery is a concern. You don't want to have an outbreak during delivery, but other than that, you are good to go. The doctor and she said I have herpes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My friend has herpes and doesn't tell her boyfriend she has herpes. She says she doesn't have outbreaks. So that's great that your friend doesn't have outbreaks. That's awesome. As far as not disclosing to her boyfriend, I would invite her to look at what happens when she does get an outbreak in the future, and what if she accidentally transmits it to her boyfriend. I came from the mortgage industry where I had to look at people's financials and do all that. And what I learned from that phase of my life is the truth always comes out. So when people would try to like falsify information or they couldn't trace a money trail or something like that, the truth always came out. So back to your situation and your friend, potentially the truth of her having herpes may come out. And then what? Is her relationship, crushed? Is it broken? Is there a lack of trust? You want to start that foundation out on a even playing field, and you want to build it with a strong foundation. You don't want to build it on a house of cards, right? So I would just invite your friend to consider that and potentially have that conversation with her boyfriend. In Georgia, can you go to jail or not for not telling someone you have HSV? I don't know about Georgia. I don't know about specific states. I would just ask yourself to, I would say that disclosing is important, and if it takes two people to tango. So if you were the person that got herpes and your partner gave you herpes, I would invite yourself to ask yourself, did I ask my partner? Did I ask my partner to get tested? Some of those questions like that. So when we get herpes, we like to blame that person. Like, you did this to me, you did it, right? And of course, we're angry, we're pissed off, that's valuable. However, I want us to practice forgiveness. I want us to practice forgiving our partner whether our partner knew or did not know that he or she gave us herpes. Forgive that person. Forgive him, forgive her for not knowing, or forgive him or forgive her for knowing. If the person knew that he or she didn't have herpes, then that person just wasn't capable of delivering that information for whatever reason. And you have to forgive that person for going through whatever he or she was going through. Now, it doesn't make it right, but it helps you come out of resentment, helps you come out of anger. And then number 2, we need to take responsibility for our actions. So meaning, did we have the conversation about being intimate, saying like, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. You clean? Yeah, I'm clean. And not having the conversation of, hey, what do we want to do here? Let's go get tested. You go get tested, I go get tested, right? Here's our test results. What do we have? So those are some things that can help, we can do in the future. But if we weren't doing those things, then we have to take responsibility as well for putting ourselves in a position to get herpes. I take full responsibility for having that for not having those conversations, or I did have that conversation, but for still saying, oh, it's okay, you're fine, it's okay, right? I take responsibility for that. I know I don't know what to do. It's so upsetting. She doesn't take medication, at least. Nope. Yeah. Yeah, I would just, I mean, it's your friend's situation. Let her deal with it. It's not your situation to fix, to solve, to tell the boyfriend. It's her choice, and she's making that bed, and she's gonna have to lie in it. No pun intended on that one. She's cooking her own goose. How's that? Can a baby get it while pregnant? No. Guys, and I have to go in the next 3 minutes. My dog has a vet appointment. So I've had positive tests, but doc says they're false if I'm asymptomatic. Is there any way to know for sure? So if your tests are positive, most likely you are positive. That's great that you're asymptomatic. So very, very lucky. A lot of people will be jealous of you. I would say the next best way to clarify that would be to get a Western blot, BLOT. Western blot test. It's from the University of Washington, and you have to get the test from the University of Washington and get it. It's the most accurate test. There's something that they do differently with I don't quite understand it, but that would be the best way to know. And that is the most accurate test out there. So if you're still getting like equivocal results, like some are positive, some are negative, and you're unsure, that's going to be your best way. Your blood test was positive for HSV2, never had an outbreak, and partner doesn't have it. That's awesome. Like, you're lucky that you don't get outbreaks, and that's awesome your partner didn't get it. Can you inbox me your questions? Absolutely. I want to prevent potential spread, but they say there's no treatment for asymptomatic people. Correct. If you're asymptomatic, you're asymptomatic. Like, you can still take the antivirals if you wish. Personally, I'm not a doctor, so please do your own research. But in my situation, being asymptomatic orally, why take something that I don't need, right? What you can do to help prevent transmission would be taking Lysine daily. That also is going to help just with the viral shedding. I have it linked. It's back in stock now. It was out of stock for like a week or for like weeks. So here is what I would recommend. It's linked in my bio. And you can also take monolaurin that helps you with enveloped viruses. This helps dissolve the outer shell of an enveloped virus, so this is very helpful. So I would say you can take those things, and then angiographis is also extremely helpful for people that do not have herpes to help prevent transmission to themselves. So if you don't have herpes, this helps prevent transmission. You went to the dermatologist who thinks I was misdiagnosed with a false positive viral culture. I would then go get a lab test done if you think you're misdiagnosed. All right, guys. My boyfriend completely accepted me with herpes. I take antiviral medicine and it helps so much. That's awesome. I'm so glad you were able to disclose. I'm glad your boyfriend's okay with it. So that is great. Thanks for sharing that positive story. What if you never pass it? That would be great. That's my plan. I hope to never transmit it to anybody. So far, I've never transmitted herpes to anybody. You haven't had a breakout forever. That's awesome. Where do I get my outbreaks? I get them on my tailbone around my anal opening. So I have genital herpes, and they have kind of moved, like I said, to my anal opening or my tailbone. Did I give it to my husband? My husband does not have it. So he has not transmitted, and I have not transmitted, and I did not transmit it to my ex-boyfriend, so he never got it either, to the best of my knowledge. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a great Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow. Like I said, I got to run to the vet. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Bye, guys.